What's up, you guys? Welcome back. Today we are going to be reading The Four Loves by C.S. Lewis. Now, you might be wondering, who the hell is C.S. Lewis? And that's a great question. So, C.S. Lewis stands for Clive Staples Lewis, born in November 29, 1898, and died November 22nd, 1963. He is a British writer, literary scholar, and he is best known as one of the authors of Chronicles of Narnia and other books, particularly the one that we're going to be reading, The Four Loves. I heard about him through a guy on TikTok, and one of his quotes really stood out. Really got me interested in him and wanting to learn a little bit more about him and his insight. So something that caught my eye with him is that he is actually close friends with the author of Lord of the Rings. And this is important because as I was digging a little bit more into his life and autobiography, found out that this guy lived for a long time, and he had a very unique perspective of the world. I mean, born in 1898, which is something I can't even fathom because it's just so much has changed even in the last 20 years. I mean, definitely the world's not the same world that I was born into, you know? So for me, it's super hard to fathom 1898. Not sure, maybe they were writing like horses and carriages or something back then. Like, that's what I'm starting to think. But he was able to live such a long life where he saw World War I and I believe World War II. So I think it's just something. Yeah, definitely World War II. I think this is something very, very unique perspective. I'm glad that people like him wrote books. Not sure what kind of books I would write if I were to write anything, but definitely an interesting story, interesting perspective. So throughout his life, he was an Irishman, and he was born into Ireland. He was very religious growing up. Somewhere along the way, he moved to England, and he just thought that their accents were funny. He didn't really vibe with them. And it just made him grow into a bitter person. About around this time, I believe that World War I was starting up, and he became an atheist. And this is kind of what's interesting because I hope you remember that we mentioned he's best friends with the author of Lord of the Rings, J.R.R. Tolkien, and he was convinced at an early age that if God had designed the world, it would not be a world so frail and faulty as we see today. And that was one of the strongest arguments for atheism back in the day, of course, and it was just he was very angry with God, very angry that he created the world. And it's very interesting that one of his best friends brought him back and returned him into Christianity. Anyway, I think that was very interesting. Kind of a little loop around. It's interesting how life works that way, especially with meeting the right people, meeting the right friends along the way. Unfortunately, he passed away November 22nd, 1 week before his 65th birthday, and it was due to some kidney failure. Anyway, I wanted to, I feel like this intro has been kind of dragging on a little bit too long, and I wanted to kind of go through the book, read the first chapter. I know typically we always start off with the introduction. Sometimes the introduction kind of gives us... So here we are, chapter 1, the introduction. God is love, says St. John. When I first tried to write this book, I thought that his maxim would provide me with a very plain high road through the whole subject. I thought I should be able to say that human loves deserve to be called loves at all, just in so far as they resembled that love which is God. The first distinction I made was therefore between what I call gift love and need love. The typical example of gift love would be that love which moves a man to work and plan for and save for the future well-being of his family, which he will die without sharing or seeing. Of the second, that which sends a lonely or frightened child to its mother's arms. There was no doubt which was more like love himself. Divine love is gift love. The Father gives all he is and has to the Son. The Son gives himself back to the Father and gives himself to the world, for the world to the Father, and thus gives the world in himself back to the Father too. Now, when I first read this, I'm just like, dude, what the fuck are you talking about, dude? Like, can you just not say things right? And which is why I actually took the next step and research, hey, where is he from, bro? Because, like, this does not sound like fucking 21st century. Like, that shit was confusing. Like, very long just to kind of say that they were just the same thing, you know? So moving forward, second page. And what, on the other hand, can be less than anything we believe of God's life than need love. He lacks nothing, but our need love, as Plato saw, is the son of poverty. It is the accurate reflection in consciousness of our actual nature. We are born helpless. As soon as we are fully conscious, we discover loneliness. We need others physically, emotionally, intellectually. We need them if we are to know anything, even ourselves. I was looking forward to writing some fairly easy panegyrics on the first sort of love and disparagements of the second. And much of what I was going to say still seems to be true. I still think that if all we mean by our love is craving to be loved, we are in a very deplorable state. But I would not now say, with my master MacDonald, that if we mean only this craving, we are mistaking for love something that is not love at all. I cannot now deny the name love to need love. Every time I have tried to think the thing out along those lines, I have ended in puzzles and contradictions. The reality is more complicated than I suppose. First of all, we do violence to most languages, including our own. If we do not call need love, love, of course, language is not an infallible guide, but it contains, with all its defects, a good deal of stored insight and experience. If you begin by flouting it, it has a way of avenging itself later on. We had better not follow Humpty Dumpty in making words mean whatever we please. So I'm gonna take a little break on that one, because we covered about three paragraphs. You know, I gotta say, the second page was a little bit more eye-opening in terms of his perspective on things. The introduction is always just like, never judge a book by its cover, but holy shit, dude, that was, those two paragraphs in the first introduction was just super, it was just a hurdle, but you got to keep moving forward. It makes more sense now what he means. So he's trying to make a, part of the reason why it's so confusing is because you're reading it out loud, but he has some of these terms in quotations. And that kind of, he's trying to distinct between different kinds of love. And for what I can read, I think it's very eye-opening. We need others physically, emotionally, and intellectually. We need them if we are to know anything, even ourselves. And I think that's very true. A lot of people can meet someone in their lives and they can actually grow better because they get introduced to them. I mean, just the fact of inviting someone. Being lonely is not, I don't think it's normal, you know. We're social creatures at the end of the day. And part of the reason why I'm doing this gig, doing this channel, it's because I need an outlet to express myself, and I think this is amazing. He nails it right on the head. I think that's what it means to me. So because of that, I'm willing to hear him out on some other things. I mean, I'm interested. I think it's interesting that he says, it makes a distinction that, hey, if we're gonna call love, if I'm gonna say that I love you, you know, we gotta understand what it means to both of us. We gotta understand that, you know, there could be boundaries, and you know, he ends it off by saying, we had better not follow Humpty Dumpty in making words mean whatever we please. I think it's a very creative way of saying that. And perhaps maybe that's not what he's implying or what he meant, but it's that's what I'm kind of analyzing out of it. So, hey, bro, C.S. Lewis, second page. Good job, man. We're moving on to the third page. Secondly, we must be cautious about calling need love mere selfishness. Mere is always a dangerous word. No doubt, need love, like all of our impulses, can be selfishly indulged. A tyrannous and gluttonous demand for affection can be a horrible thing. But in ordinary life, no one calls a child selfish because it turns for comfort to its mother, nor an adult who turns to his fellow for company. Those, whether children or adults, who do so least are not usually the most selfless. Where need love is felt, there may be reasons for denying or totally mortifying it. But not to feel it is in general the mark of the cold egoist. Since we do in reality need one another, it is not good for a man to be alone. Then the failure of this need to appear as need love in consciousness. In other words, the illusionary feeling that is good for us to be alone is a bad spiritual symptom, just as lack of appetite is a bad medical symptom, because men do really need food. So on his second point, he mentions a lot. He mentions that love can be selfish sometimes, and that it's not good to judge whether it's a children or adult. I mean, I think that's very interesting because, like, I mean, a lot of people do give a lot of slack to children, but I mean, for example, this might be controversial, but curse words, I don't think it's appropriate at a certain age that's the first thing that they're exposed to. But I also understand that it's very hard to contain that. The world is like that. The kids are going to be exposed to that. But if I see a 4-year-old or 5-year-old cursing, and if it's under like my house or something, you know, like, you think, at least I think that it shouldn't, I don't want that to be said at me. And because there's a line, and I think I can teach them that line, and they should know, but kids are still developing, and maybe they don't know that line. So, it's a very complex issue. I get it. Like, I just don't think, and a very weird subject to talk about, but I just think, like, it's right. You can't judge. There's different levels of judging, and I'm glad that he brings up like different age groups, because I think that he's really thinking about it even more thoroughly. But also some things that stick out to me in this second point: a tiredness and gluttonous demand for affection can be a horrible thing, but in ordinary life, no one calls a child selfish, because it turns for comfort to its mother. So that's just I mean, damn, bro. Starting off strong, and he ties it all up by that he again stresses the point that it is not good for a man to be alone. And then just as it's a spiritual system, just as a lack of appetite is a bad medical symptom, because men really do need food. Wow. Because, like, on that point, bro, because like, I'm feeling hungry. Like, the fact that he said that, like, man, it's working me an appetite. I still got a couple pages, and I'm not sure. Maybe I'm going to be ending it off here soon. I got about 10 more pages to go. I want to see how long this is going. Yeah. I'm going to finish. I'm going to read one more paragraph, and I'll be signing off. But thirdly, we come to something far more important. Every Christian would agree that a man's spiritual health is exactly proportional to his love for God. But man's love for God, from the very nature of the case, must always be very largely, and must often be entirely, a need love. This is obvious when we implore forgiveness for our sins, or support in our tribulations. But in the long run, it is perhaps even more apparent in our growing, for it ought to be growing, awareness that our whole being, by its very nature, is one vast need, incomplete, preparatory, empty yet cluttered, crying out for Him who can untie things that are now knotted together and tie up things that are still dangling loose. I do not say that men can never bring to God anything at all but sheer need love. Exalted souls may tell us of a reach beyond that, but they would also, I think, be the first to tell us that those heights would cease to be true graces, would become Neoplatonic or finally diabolical illusions. The final moment a man dared to think that he would live on them and henceforth drop out the element of need, the highest, says the imitation, does not stand without the lowest. It would be a bold and silly creature that came before its creator with the boast, I'm no beggar, I love you disinterestedly. Those who come nearest to gift love for God will next moment, even at the very same moment, be beating their breast with the publican and laying their indigence before the only real giver, and God will have it so. He addresses our need love. Come unto me, all ye that travail and are heavy laden. Or in the Old Testament, open your mouth wide, and I will fill it. That was a good chapter. Again, bringing bringing it home, talking more about religion. I will say God can give you peace of mind. I think it's good for people to understand the values and the teachings of it. The world can be a better place with a little bit more forgiveness, a little bit more understanding, but most importantly, a mediator, someone to be there and mediate the conversations. I feel like that's what God has given me the most, is being able to break the ice per se, break the ice and talk about and bond over literature that is pretty wide known. It's almost as talking like a TV show, you know. It's weird to compare it to like that, but hopefully you understand what I mean. And with that, ladies and gentlemen, I will end this video. That is C.S. Lewis, The Four Loves. I'm going to be continuing this series and hopefully doing like a little book review at the end of it. Will not try to give all my thoughts like that. I know this was just kind of like my first rodeo here. So hope you learned a little bit more about C.S. Lewis and his backstory. And that was the introduction. And hopefully we're going to be finishing chapter 1. The introduction. See you guys.